Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to start planting out my own winter onions. It's the, it's the 2nd of November and I'm a little bit late. As always, I'm running late. What I've done is I've just pulled my tomatoes from here. I should have pulled them a while ago, but what I've done is I've basically cut the tomato plant at the very root. So just like this, where I've got tomato plants that are still in the ground, all I've done is I've taken a knife and below soil level I've cut the plant, and that way the roots stay underground, and those roots will rot in the ground over winter. Those roots of the tomato plants will rot underground and create a compost corridor for me. I mean, the best plants to do that with are legumes, because what happens with legumes is they have nitrogen nodules on the roots. So as the bacteria breaks that down, it releases the nitrogen into the soil and it creates a really fertile environment for planting. Like I say, I've cut the tomato plants at the root and then given it a light rake over just to disturb the soil at the surface level and kill off any weeds that were growing. See, there's a couple of weeds that are still here that I'll need to take out, but I'll put them there for a second. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to top dress it, and what I'm going to top dress it is with some compost from some potato buckets. Now these, I'm not expecting much from these, because what these are wood chips, and these are the potatoes that the sprouts that grew from shop bought potatoes. We just had some sprouts, so I just took the eyes off and I planted them. So I'm not expecting anything great in here. Oh, we've got a couple of baby potatoes, and this is just going to be my top dressing of the mulch. Oh, we've got one there, really diddy one, nothing much. Another little diddy one there. So this was just wood chips that I had ready to, that was trying to get broken down. Just leaving the wood chips on my compost pile, I added them to buckets, added a bit of manure, stuck a few potato eyes in there just to see if I could get them to break down. But so far, we've got some little diddy ones. So they're grown completely for free. If you want to see how to get free potatoes, go and check out my potato video where I've got a load of volunteer potatoes that yielded me some brilliant results this year. These are just old washing up baskets that have served their purpose in the house. They're falling apart. Before we throw them away, rather than send them to landfill, we just using them for planters. So here we've got some more. I mean, these were potatoes just grown from eyes. So no seed potatoes in here, it's just the eyes, cut off sprouts that were sprouted under the kitchen sink, and this is what we're yielding. Nothing major. They've not been watered. Yeah, they're planted just before I went on Hajj, so they weren't looked after at all. But if you look at my 3 things I've learnt this year video, you can see the potato results that I had with the ones that I actually planted. You can see the worm life in it, it's just beautiful. Yeah. Okay, we're not supposed to be digging, buddy.
Potato.
So that's just compost from my compost pile that I've had maturing. You can see the difference between that and just the wood chips. So that's a nice layer of compost on top. And what I'll do is I'll start planting. So these are Japanese Shenzu onions. They're a yellow onion. Ideally I should have planted these a couple of weeks ago, but hopefully there's still enough time to get these in the ground and established before the winter sets in. This part of the bed, I've never planted onions in here before. I mean, that section of the bed is where I had my Japanese onions last year, And under the gourd arch is where I had my summer onions from sets. So this part of the bed has normally been used for salads, and I had my tomatoes here last year. But now we're going to use it for our onions. So I've got 2 packets of yellow onions, and so I haven't got loads, so 2 packs of 50, that's 100 bulbs, so I could get that in this space easy. And I'm just gonna I'm planting them about that sort of distance apart, so about 4 or 5 inches, and I'm planting them in a row. And so rather than just have them as just onions everywhere, what I'm going to do is in the middle of them I'm going to plant some broad beans. So what I've got there is I've planted a couple of rows of onions there. Now just in front of them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant my broad beans. We're not a fan of broad beans in our house, so we grow them primarily for organic matter. But here I'm planting these ones so I can save my seeds for next year. I'll show you my broad bean plants already. They're already most of them are about a foot high already. And these broad beans I'm just going to plant in the middle of these, hoping that they won't get, the smell of the onions will detract the black fly from them. So broad beans are notorious for getting aphids. So with this type of companion planting, I'm hoping that we won't get as many aphid attacks. Yeah, so keep planting my onions, get these all in. What are you doing with them? Watch what he does with them, okay? Onions, they are a biennial plant, so they do tend to bolt quite quickly in the second year if they go through a cold too much. Like the autumns that we've been having, where we're getting sporadic weather where it's hot and then it's cold and then it warms up again. That can play havoc with crops like onions. So what happens is when the onion goes through that cold and it warms up again and then it goes cold again, the onion thinks that it's gone through two sets of winters and quickly wants to produce as many seeds as possible. So it bulks and the onion starts to flower, and that's one of the major issues with the climate changing. Thank you. Now if you notice, when weather and climate are two different things, if you notice how over the last few years our autumns have tended to get wetter and warmer. Normally we've had a couple of hard frosts by this time of the year in Leeds, but so far I haven't seen ice on the windows of the car once yet. We've had one frost where I've actually woke up and noticed the ground has been a little bit white, but I haven't noticed ice on the car yet. What are you doing? Okay, do you want to just plant them and get done with them, or do you just want to keep picking them up? I've done with my all my yellow onions, my Shenzhou onions. Now I've got some red onions to plant, and the variety of this is Wilco own brand red. So they haven't bothered to give it an actual name. They've just called it red. Okay. And one of the things about the planting guide on here, it does say plant anywhere between September and December. Okay, what do you want to do with them? They need to go in the ground, son. Thank you. I'm always reluctant to plant red onions, especially overwintering red onions, because what I've noticed with red onions is before anything else, these are the ones that go to seed. I've always found that red onions are always a lot more sensitive to bolting than the normal yellow onions or even the white onions. Wilco's didn't have any white onions when I looked this time, otherwise I'd have got some white onions because I like the white onions. They did really well for me. The overwintering white onions did really well for me last year. There's 3 bags, so there's 150 sets planted here. Those 3 bags cost £6. Now if I can get back £6 worth of onions, then at least I've broken up even. I've got some more broad beans that I think I'll put a row of broad beans in here as well. I'll fill this last little bit of space in that I've mulched now. So that's it for my onions. I'm just gently going to cover them up. So it doesn't matter, with this kind of mulch it doesn't matter if you don't cover them up, because they're naturally, when the wind blows or it rains, this is all going to fall into place and cover the holes up. But I'll just gently cover them up, and that's it, job's done. So there are my overwintering onions planted. I'll leave it there for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I forgot to show you, these are the potatoes that are harvesting from those pots of wood chips and manure composting down. It's not great. I mean, it was just the eyes of some potatoes that we had growing, but it's something better than nothing, isn't it?